Good morning. This is Jim Banks. You can catch us at jimpatbanks.com. I want to talk to you a little bit this morning about how to get through this season and into the next successfully. The real key to it is knowing exactly who you are. One of the things that we're all going to have to do is reinvent ourselves, redefine ourselves in this season so that when we enter the next one, when this quarantine thing is over, we will know precisely who it is we are and what we're about in this next season. Obviously, we're not who we were this time last year. And of course, this time next year, we won't be the same as we are today, hopefully. But the reality of it is you've learned a lot of things, you've seen a lot of things, you have wished for a lot of things, you've prayed for a number of things. And the Lord is in the midst of being able to equip you with all of those things that not only you want to do, but He wants to do through you. I was talking to the Lord the other day, and He said, don't you think I know what I was getting when you gave your life to me? I know what I put in you, and I know how to get it out. So the reality of Him being able to fulfill our purposes, that the ones that He created with, as well as the desires of our heart, are in His hands, and He's well in it in the midst of this. But the key to success is going to be knowing precisely who it is you are. Now, one of the things about it is if you don't know precisely who you are, everybody else wants to tell you who you are, and you become some kind of an image of their desires rather than your own. The other thing is that you need to know who you are to be able to walk in the authority that God has given you to create art, and art that moves people, touches them in a place that they need to be touched. And if you don't know who you are, one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to continually draw things to you that tend to try and detour you from the purpose that you were created for and the thing that you've set your mind to. And I think that's one of the things that's happened to us in the context of this coronavirus quarantine is the fact that we're distracted, we're bored, and as a consequence, we're having a really tough time keeping the main thing the main thing. Now, one of the things that you're going to experience when you can define specifically who you are is that you'll begin to draw the favor that you need. Now, you don't need favor from everybody, but you need favor from those who can do precisely for you what you need. For instance, those who the ones you really need are the ones who can advertise you better than you can advertise yourself. Word of mouth is always the best advertisement. So you can only acquire that knowledge of who you are through the one who made you and self-investigation. If you'd like some help in that, give me a buzz. I'll send you a 13-page form that'll allow you to ask a ton of questions and investigate some areas of your life that you really need to understand and appreciate. Because if you don't know who it is you are, you can't honor it. And if you refuse to honor it, you're teaching everybody else how not to honor you. So one of the things that is part of this whole thing, and I think I told this story at GOA, is a number of years ago, people were telling me, you're a father. And I was going, not interested, particularly because to me, to be in that place to say I'm a father means I have to be responsible for a bunch of knuckleheads I probably don't even like. So I'm not going there. Well, a number of years later, the Lord kind of intercepted me and said, You realize it's not good to be in disagreement with the one who created you? So, yes, sir. He said, The thing, though, that hurt me the most about it is that when you decide not to be what I've created you to be, you disqualify yourself from receiving the favor of that which I've created you to be. And that, I think, is one of the most significant things. As an artist, we've all had different kinds of identities. We've all found different seasons of life to require things of us that really weren't in our bailiwick. We didn't feel like we were going to be great at raising kids. We didn't feel like we were going to be great at some kind of career. We just wanted to create, and as a consequence, we've struggled with our identity. Am I a father or mother only? Am I a housewife only? Am I a breadwinner only? The reality of that is when you were created with this drive to create, you were created as, you are an artist. And so in order to be able to draw the things to you, in order to be able to expand your vision, you're going to have to identify yourself as an artist. Now, you have to avoid one of the things that so many people do is identify yourself by what you do. No, it's who you are. Pat and I kind of jokingly laugh. Way back in the late 90s, we were in the golf business. And we joke that we prayed for more people while we were in the golf business than we do now on purpose. And this is what we do for a living. Well, that's probably not true, but the reality of it is that's who we are. And that's not going to change regardless of how we're making a living. So the idea is to understand who it is you were created to be and pursue that above all things. And in this season, I think it's helpful for each one of us to sit down and say, who am I? Who have I become? What do I do in the context of creativity that brings me life? And how can I foster that? Do I need additional education? Do I need improvement in skills? Do I need to stretch my viewpoint of what's possible, not only with materials, but even the subjects that I've become familiar with? The other thing is, the question is, what am I afraid of? You see, you're going to have to deal with those things. But the issue is you cannot resolve, you can't defeat, neither can you honor what you refuse to look into. So you're going to have to ask yourself some hard questions. And that's one of the reasons this forum has been helpful for a lot of people. It's free. I'll just shoot it to you. But the idea is you're going to have to ask some hard questions. Can you define your insecurities, and particularly around art? Are there specific types of things that you've done that you don't want anybody to see? Are you afraid of criticism? Are you afraid that people not buying your work will become a judgment against you and who you are and your value as a human being? These are things we have to wrestle with. So this season of presumed or forced inactivity shouldn't be totally inactive. There should be this season in which we're nailing down the fine points of who we are, and being created in the image of God. I ought to be able to trace in me some of those characteristics that God displayed through Jesus Christ. For instance, how do you show compassion? How do you show righteous indignation? How good of a friend are you? How do you show mentorship, discipleship, both from the standpoint of receiving as well as giving? See, these are all elements of who you are as a creative. And so it's time to look into them. Because if you don't look into them, when you go walk into the next season, you're going to expect yourself to walk into it just like you walked into this one. And there will be no change. There will be no improvement. There will be no blessing for you. And I don't say you won't be blessed. What I'm saying, there's a verse in Proverbs that says there is profit in all labor. If we didn't feel good about ourselves when we did something nice for someone else, there wouldn't be such thing as charity. But for us, there is a self-satisfaction that comes from making improvements, from achieving goals, from establishing things in our lives that we want to establish. And one of those things that you're going to have to walk into in this season is a firm, unchanging knowledge of who am I. God bless you in that pursuit.